So I'm seeing a lot of people are joining the wonderful. This is Vijay from Gwalior, Asmita from Mumbai, Deepak from Mumbai. There's Mohit who has joined from Rajpura, Punjab. There is Ananya Malhotra from Delhi, Divya from Mumbai, Shweta from Mumbai. So now I think there are a lot of people who are already joined in, and Mohit from Gurgaon, Swati from Mumbai. These are very interesting times now. Is giving us an opportunity and a threat both at the same time. We are seeing that COVID is leaving behind a deadly impact across the world, countries, governments, economies, and people as well. It is disrupting the way people live and how workplace operates around the globe. Returning back to status quo looks like nearly impossible. Some experts are projecting it to be one of the worst recession the world has ever seen, with varying impact on businesses depending on sector. While certain businesses may permanently close down, some are struggling and some will come out as a winner. We already started to see the effects, which means there can be both permanent and temporary layoffs, leaving millions of people jobless, pay cuts, and far-reaching consequences of financial and management decisions of a company. People are the greatest resource of every organization and need to be handled with utmost care and dignity all the time. It is always said to employees that you are the most important resource of company. But during the slightest economic downturn, this most important resource of a company is the first to pay price. And you know why this happens? Because many of the organizations treat employees as a cost, not as an investment. And HR knows that how much investment creating that resource. Workplace leaders are finding themselves in an unseen challenge in this pandemic, with rising stress, anxiety, and a pressure on mental well-being. I would say these are the testing time for HR professionals. COVID-19 has forced both employees and employers to start working from home, which means new ways of monitoring and supporting employees and teams, which has never happened earlier. Adding to this, constantly evolving guidelines from government, from organizations, newer policy, making HR role even more difficult as they first keep themselves updated about the latest policy changes, and then they dignified way they need to implement that changes to the people, which is making a very difficult job for HR professional for sure. And it is said that true test of a leader is their ability to successfully navigate in a crisis. So COVID is the time when we can witness the true test of our leaders' qualities. That is why in Mindful Science Center and Mindfulness India Summit, we want to hear from the leaders and the experts who have actually done it. And Alokji is one of that leader who is doing it now and when time is happening. In the Mindful Conversation series, today we have Alok Shepurkar, who is Executive Vice President and HR Head of SDFC Asset Management Limited, one of the most successful wealth management in India. It's one of India's largest and most profitable asset management firm with an over 3.2 trillion, I think, if I'm right, Alokji, 3.2 trillion of asset management under them. So over to you, Alokji.
Okay, thank you very much, Manishji, and many friends who have decided to join and contribute to this forum. I just want to make two small announcements before we take in the question answer form. One is I don't claim that I am a mindfulness expert, but of course acknowledge that I am a student of mindfulness. So I have yet to transform into a better controlled person, but yes, there has been a journey of last almost 10 years and it has tremendously benefited me personally. Second thing is, whatever my views are, these are personal views and of course has no relation with an organization. Organization may or may not subscribe to these views. So these are my personal experiences. Third thing is I will bring stories, experiences, whatever I have read, listened, and heard from different parts of different walks of the life to add more dimension to this conversation. And last but not least, I would invite all the participants to celebrate and enjoy this moment. Next 1 hour is going to be very, very interesting because I'm not going to tell you to-do list. I am going to build a perspective. You may or may not agree. Whatever or wherever you agree, please take notes of it and see whether you can live those things. And wherever you disagree, maybe some other day it may rebound in your memories. So this is the context I thought I'll set before we take it forward. Manish, thank you very much. Manish, over to you.
Wonderful. I think these are the right way of putting, and that's how the leaders and professionals are so humble to accept that they don't know. And I know Alokji that he is a avid practitioner of mindfulness in his practices. But that is it said that I know nothing is the way to move. And learning, being it's said that there is an immense possibilities in learner's mind, but there exists none with expert, because you are already expert. So when we are in open, we are learners. There opens a new possibilities of learning. But when we claim to be an expert, then we already shut ourselves to any new learning. Coming to the first point within the COVID scenario, the COVID pandemic could be one of the most serious challenge faced by the financial services. I think it's one of the biggest challenge of the century any financial institution has seen now. From the fall of service, drop of asset valuation, lower demand, income production shutdown are the few which are adversely affecting the financial business. If this would be the normal downturn, still I think you would be in a position to manage it. But situation is aggravated by the staff shortage, inadequate digital maturity, and the pressure on the existing infrastructure as a firm scramble to deal with COVID-19 and shortage of people. These are the few of which I think of in my head that this could be challenged. There are few more challenges what you must be facing. So let's the audience listen that what are these challenges you facing in these days?
Okay, Manish, thank you. I think let me go a slightly different track for 30 seconds, and then I come to as what my take on this question is. Look, I was just reading a chat box and somebody is writing that he has come across a statement that mindfulness is a fluff and there's no measurement, and why do we corporates need it, and so on and so forth. I couldn't go to the more details. And I was just reflecting. 1620 we had similar pandemic. 1720 we had similar pandemic. 1820 we had similar pandemic. 1920 we have similar pandemic. 2020 we have similar pandemic. 4 lessons of 400 years could not make mankind ready for this. What is more or bigger justification of mindfulness we as a society or civilization need? That 4 lessons repeating after every 100 years has not brought us to be ready for this. I think no bigger justification explain us why we have to be present and why should we look larger canvas than what we are narrowly viewing and going quarter to quarter and making profits and as if there's no tomorrow. Second thing, mindfulness. One question was asked that while companies are showing profit quarter after quarter, and one quarter and we are talking about joblessness and cutting salaries and there's no money and everywhere is throwing the towels in the game. What kind of institutionalization and organization building have we done? So these are the questions which I want to park with audience and leave them to reflection, what they think about it, and maybe when we get opportunity, we will deliberate about it. Coming to the what kind of crisis or what kind of challenges are being experienced by across the society, not only just corporate world, but just to come on the financial side of it, because that's the industry in recent 15 years I belong to. Of course, there's a huge debt crisis. That means people have borrowed more than their income. There's excess liquidity, overflowing liquidity, the banks, but those who need cannot access it. Okay. Next is your equity markets are completely going divergent to what the real economic health is. So equity markets are no longer showing the true reflection of economic, strength of economy. All these things obviously have affecting the revenue streams of the corporations. And that is leading to systemic problems. Systemic problem means people are trusting less on each other. People are not collaborating. Everybody wants to safeguard his interest. the people who used to move on the shout or in trust now want things in mail and writing. Okay. Next is one side job losses are happening. The other side who are surviving in this job loss process are also living with survivor's guilt. So all these things are getting accumulated and causing to a lot of fear, apprehension, and paranoia. So these all things are affecting people. Now, all these things are certainly going to affect the health of people, right from their digestion to their thinking capability, the stress, their conduct and behavior with their kids who have no role to play in this, maybe relationship with spouses. So all these things are taking stress and toll on these relationships. And therefore, I think the mindfulness has far more larger role to play. So social distancing is also causing a lot of emotional distancing.
Yes.
So that is another challenge which is contributing to this, and that is causing anticipatory grief. Anticipatory grief means I am anticipating tomorrow my line of earning will go. I will not be able to achieve my goals. So it is a fear of future, which will not come true today, but it is causing immense stress for me. And therefore, I think that mindfulness practice is extremely important. As we go forward, I will cover a lot of to-dos and things which participants can benefit and maybe apply in their day-to-day life.
Wonderful. In fact, just adding to this point, and I think I was wanted to talk something else, but then the situation is such that I need that in past, just giving that recent scenarios of what happened, let the people also experience what is happening. Since we working in Mindful Science Center for last 7 years, dedicatedly working on the subject of, I personally left my corporate world, heading large organization as a CEO, and then dedicating myself and my wife also, Chandni, would have started working on it. The reason being that I found there's an amazing impact what it caused on my life, first of all. So I can relate with my own experience. I cannot relate with somebody else's experience. It's amazingly impacted me firstly. It impacted me, my organization, the way I led the organization, way I dealt myself, way I conducted. And it also have a huge impact on my mental and physical health, which has dramatically changed. I can tell you that last 7 years, I have not come under the weather ever. That's the kind of claim I make. But also adding to what the world is doing in past few decades, there's a sharp increase in interest on secular mindfulness. It's basically science-based mindfulness practices. One is like one we do in like Buddhist practices or Vedantic practices or yogic practices. But there's a main now coming as science-based practices. I've been talking to a lot of neuroscientists, which I work with now since we run this institute, International Institute of Mindful Science Center. And Mindfulness India Summit is one of the biggest summit in Asia. And now it's an amazing summit in the world, which is of its own kind. There's a huge interest in public and private sector all around the world, not only in India or in America, but just all around the world. It's growing fast. Research with business leaders shows, and there's a studies which you can relate to the BCG or Accenture. A lot of all organizations are doing systematic studies on that it enhances resilience, capacity for collaboration, and it's also ability to thrive in complex situations. Like you rightly said, these are the times when mindfulness comes in a picture, in a play, when people can start use. Now, you can regular time, you can use it, but it's more effective, and we will cover it in our times. And latest neuroscientific, genomic, and also behavioral research, I can refer to a few books to you, which suggests that practice of mindfulness, systematic training. It's not that you do it and you don't do it. Systematic training practice can actually change your mental habits, promote resilience and performance effectiveness. And what you talk about social, it actually includes the social emotional learning to you. So both in social and emotional learning to you. And that's the reason today organizations like Microsoft, Google, Novartis, Abbott, and not only these organizations, I'm talking of United Nations, World Bank, various parliaments started to using mindfulness in their practice. So I didn't want to cover it now, but since the point has come. So I think coming to this point when we make that in your view, mindfulness is important, but how it is more important in current times? We understand it's important, but what is that implication in current time? And you are a practitioner yourself.
Okay, let me, again, I will go to chat box where one question was asked that it is mindfulness is known to mankind for maybe ages. and how can it link to the economic growth, and how can it help to make the organization's economic profit, or so on and so forth. The comment was about it. I think if we look at the organizations which are institutionalized, which are 200-year-old, 300-year-old organizations versus the recent organizations, what is the difference? How organizations have survived for 200 years, 250 years, and how these organizations will still survive for maybe 100 more years or 200 more years. I don't know future, but at least they aspire to survive. What is the one difference, or what are the two things which will differentiate between the normal organization and institutionalized organization? And I'm sure somewhere underlying would be the mindfulness as a part of their cultural framework. They may not have titled as a mindfulness, but I'm sure culture building somewhere it would be present in a very, very strong strong form, and also as a part of their value, their philosophy, their mission. So it will be a good area of research if anybody wants to take it. Now coming to your question, one thing before we go to the how it can help organization, for some of the people who have just got interested in mindfulness, mindfulness is a far holistic way of taking things without being judgmental about it. Because moment you get judgmental, it interrupts your ability to judge the whole thing holistically. And also mindfulness is about understanding the environment completely and taking it in its wholesomeness. The more precise definition, the techniques, obviously Manish is expert and you can do Google. I am going to more come from my experience, what I am doing and what I have experienced, what I have learned from others, rather than giving any prescription on this. One experience I have, that leaders have a communication, or leaders' communication rather, has a cascading effect in the organization. If you have a mindful leader, organization will look far more cool, calm, resilient, and yet very responsive. But if you have insecure leader, the organization will go completely different way, very ad hoc, very haphazard, and every time there will be inconsistency in dealing with the issues. How it can help? Mindfulness helps you to appreciate things better, empathize better, come to the other's shoes better. The trust within the organization is completely taken to the next speed, next level. The collaboration improves. As a result, we as an organization gather supersonic speed of executing things and still being around the central force of being an organization, and that is our clients or our customers. So this is the response I have, Manish, for you.
Yes, I completely agree with the points you have made. That firstly, I call everybody a leader, and when you sit on your desk, being a CEO or a janitor in an organization, it has a responsibility of its own. If janitor is not doing its own responsibility, I think even the CEO responsibility is undermined in that way. So we all are leaders in our own sense. We need to accept that, yes, we are a leader. This is the work I'm been given in this time, and I'm doing that work. Mindfulness gives that perspective of the quality of work you're doing, the dignity to your own self, the kind of work you're doing, rather than and looking at somebody as what he's doing in competition and judging that you are doing a poor job. It gives you that strength to look into your own self and appreciate what you are doing, first of all. So this is like a searchlight, which is always searching outside, is turning inside, that is starting to see the quality of work you are putting into. And what is your level of trust in your own self first, before you are trusting organization, you are putting blame to others. Are these four fingers which is pointing towards you, are actually you are looking at? It's a way that you are observing your observer. That is, your observer is only observing outside, or still observing your inside. Then it allows you to recognize how mind works. It's not about that we're talking of behavior only. It also how basically mind works. Though there are about 80 to 100 billion neurons fired on about 50,000 synapses at this time. So I'm not saying to understand that whole synaptic connection of human, but then how brain basically function. That means understand how do you lead yourself. And when you know how you lead yourself, then you can tell how others can lead. If you don't know how to lead your own self, how can you stand and tell others how they're going to be leading? how you will tell organization to lead. So that's how the good organization work. I just adding to what you added, that people who are good leaders, they know how to perform themselves. So, and that's effectiveness of organizations started to fundamentally change. And these skills of managing organizations and business are affected. And these are the leaders which emerge during this time of crisis. These are the time of crisis. You see these leaders come out, because when the times are normal, you don't see, because everybody is flowing with the flow. But when the time changes, the flow changes. That's the time I give the people who are writing for their benefit. Firstly, how do you observe that observer? To make life a little better on a road, if you go to road, there are traffic signals. You see these traffic signals because there are cars coming left, right, center. And if you don't obey those traffic signals, what happens? You end up in accident. This is exactly happening in our brain. Our brain are bombarded with thousands of thoughts coming from all directions. Okay. And if you don't know the signals and signs to read those thoughts and emotions, you actually end up occurring an accident in brain. And these brain accidents are our actions. We don't realize, and we cross the road without realizing that there was an anger coming from one direction. So these are the searchlights. You will agree that all work is done based on emotions. We are angry, we take different action. We are happy, we take very different action. But do we know, are we angry? Do we know, are we happy? Do we know what emotions are going? So mindfulness helps you to get better at recognizing that and understanding your own personal signals, and tell us where to close our tipping point. Think of mindfulness like your own personal and fear thermometer. You just talk about the fear. It's like your own personal thermometer, that what is your fear and anxiety level today. So that will help you to know that what is a warning sign at this time. Few signals which you are irritated, or you are getting irritated by others. You are losing patience. You're feeling sensory urgency of, let me jump to something else. You are not able to focus or concentrate. You're feeling restless. You have a constant negative thinking or ruminating, or you are eating less or more. You have a sleeping issues. You have a lower level of energy. Whenever you get up in the morning, you're feeling tired. You wanted to sleep a little bit more. You have a skin rashes. Okay. You are clenching your teeth. Most of the time when we are stressful, we clench our teeth. So, and also constant headaches and migraines. These are the few signals which you read. You will understand that you constantly need a level of mindfulness to deal with it. So I think, Alokji, with this, rather than telling people that, this has to be done, I invite a small answer to question. How are you feeling emotionally or physically at this moment? What is your level of awareness of your emotions at this time?
Okay, I will. What I will do is I will club this response maybe around next. So Vidhu Sharma, who is one of the participants, has already answered on my behalf. Peaceful, inquisitive, and relaxed. So anyway, so I'll come to there are 2-3 comments have come, Manishji.
Okay.
One is one question has come from Vidhu only, that modern psychology. And he has written something. How does it help enhancing team effectiveness within organizations while working from home in current environment? Can mindful employees help leadership? So top down or this, and then next is, so I will try and answer these questions as I answer. So as a human brain, we get around 60,000 thoughts a day. And half of our active time is spent about thinking. Now, I will tell you about one of my boss. The quality of the boss is that when you go and meet him, you will get an impression as if he is exclusively meant for you. Whosoever calls, no call will be attended. Next 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes is one-on-one. Fully present and completely immersed with you. Now, when you get that kind of response, obviously human beings are too intelligent to mirror this, to mimic this. And we are too good to mimic our bosses. Let's ask this to our inner self. Okay? If we have reasonably good relationship, we are too good to mimic. And this has a cascading effect. And that's what I said, we have a cascading effect of this. A couple of things which, before I answer how I am feeling and what my state of mind is, That one thing is this time calls for being present in the moment. We are increasingly going into the model where we are working from home. That means your communication is either through WhatsApp, email, which has your backlog already. You have a loaded impression about every mail sender. That means it helps you to be judgmental. Rather, it triggers a judgment in your mind. Mindfulness tells you to how to be more better communicative. How do you create non-judgment, judgmental assessment of the center? That helps because soft skills and being mindful are going to be the key differentiator. Otherwise, a remotely managed team, there are fair chances of misunderstanding. And with misunderstanding, replacing trust, chaos or fiasco is inevitable, and that means teams will start falling apart. I will come to myself. I am right now focusing on three things. One is I'm trying to be driven by a emotion of giving. Okay. So I am constantly in mode of giving. When you are in mode of giving, you have no expectation. You are detached and you are in the best position to contribute. So that's I'm trying to do. Number thing, say two is I'm trying to be driven by purpose. When you are driven by purpose, no amount of clutter or chattering can stop you. Because like Arjun, you are not only focusing on the eye of bird, but you are focusing the darker circle inside the eye. That means everything else outside is silenced. So these are the time when you have to focus on the purpose. And last thing I would say is about mindfulness for the questions which are being asked, gives you an opportunity to create the space between stimulus and response. So when you get a stimulation in the form of a mail or a not proper message or something, just take a pause. A mindful person will create that space, because more the space you create, more the choices you get. And then choose what is best for you. You may do still mistake, but you knew in that time you took a better choice. And I will tell you one experiment I did with this. So some time ago, two of my team members, they were completely against each other. On every issue, they must fight. After some time, I decided that next time if they have an argument, I will take them to meeting room and ask them to recreate the argument. And believe you me, it became so difficult for them to recreate the same issue again. And the huge shift in the behavior, not only in these two people, but also the people around them. Because recreation will take you against the grain, because when you are in anger, you have gone far differently than what naturally or normally you would have done. So these are some of the things which I thought I will share with you.
Yes, I completely agree to that. It's very easy when we teach mindfulness and these concepts that yes, it helps. And when we practice and when we apply these concepts in our day-to-day life, it really changes its own meaning, because we then experience in our own experiences of our day-to-day life. And then the real fun of using that completely changes. It's like my meditation. Meditation is when you tell people to meditate. Nobody has ever changed by telling, stay calm, stay calm. Nobody stayed calm unless until he has to think himself that he has to stay calm. So no amount of telling him stay calm will make a change. Very interesting thing happened. I was recently doing a webinar for about 50 top consultants of Spain. Spain is the country worst hit by COVID and deaths at one time. And the question was, how can I stay focused and productive when people are scared, unsure, unhealthy, sick, or someone has lost job, livelihood, businesses, someone has even lost someone? How can I create that moment? How can I stay calm? How can I be mindful enduring volatile and uncertain, scary times. Tell me how you keep your teams healthy in this time and productive also at the same time. You're keeping healthy is one time and health productive when these are so much of uncertainty and scary moment outside.
So, one question I have just seen in the box, rather comment, I wouldn't say question, that, or rather many a times, especially senior, middle and middle management always thinks that all these things have to flow from the top. But I think all of us has a fragrance. All of us have fragrance. Our fragrance, if you are mindful, even nastiest person, may him be boss, will not be able to lose his control. So if we are individual self and we are self-sufficient, even if, and mindfulness is valued more when people around you are not mindful, then only you will come as a star, a shining star. Because if my Mercedes would be valued, I don't own one, but I'm just giving as an example, my Mercedes will value more when there are 100 other brand cars are there. But if all are having Mercedes, what is the value? So I think therefore we shouldn't wait for anybody top leader to follow mindfulness and know that day will not come. But you will certainly become top leader one day. That day it will be difficult to start mindfulness. You start today, right now.
Yes.
So this is one thing. Now, coming to your question, how teams will deal with it. So one best example which I have recently read, when the whole world was busy in talking about COVID, talking about in India, talking about the government arrangements in Bombay, giving different words to government bodies like BMC and TMC and 50 other things, and COVID deaths and countries and so on and so. One person sitting on the Pedder Road in his tall bungalow has sold $10 billion stake of his platform. Okay. We are not fortunate to sell something of $10 billion. But what I am drawing message from here is that even in this chaos, even in this uncertainty, here is a person who is busy, relentlessly driven by purpose to make his organization debt free. When the Aramco deal is likely to fall off, I hope people are getting what I'm talking about. So my point is, if I can't make 10 billion, but I can make 1,000 rupees. 1,000 rupees not a currency, that value add to myself. So what can I do differently? And that is something which I must look in. And that's the message to team is that look inside and act outside. Get in touch with yourself. Yeah, Manish, over to you.
I think I remember you've given a very good example, and I follow Eckhart Tolle, and I read one of her quote, which I remember, that, when you become comfortable with uncertainty, infinite possibilities open up in your life. You have to become that comfortable with uncertainty. And that is the time you understand the world is uncertain, volatile, it's VUCA world. And mindfulness power to provide that sharper focus, wiser decision making, and courage with a positive attitude. So the important is that you are not pulling yourself because you are being pulled into the bad, but you have that positive attitude and looking at a brighter side of things, which may not be looking at the darker side of picture all the time. And it provides an ability to aware, not only being just aware, but empathetically listen. When you listen empathetically, you are truly present, like what you said, being present with the people and the stakeholders. You understand them, you listen to them. And
so I will give you one example, Manish, sorry to this thing, because I think for audience it will be extremely important. There's a film producer called Rakesh Om Prakash Mehra. And after Bhag Milkha Bhag became successful, he was interviewed by a journalist. And he asked him, but why did you make a film on Milkha Singh? Because there are so many better quality or perceived heroes, sports people, where you could have made a film. And one liner I will only respond that Rakesh Om Prakash Mehra said, after I heard the story of Milkha Singh, I only told myself one thing, that if I don't make film on this, I have done nothing in my life. And Bhag Milkha Bhag was one of the best biopic we have made in recent times.
Very true.
He is driven by non-profit, not by success in the theaters. He was driven by the purpose. So can we be so purpose driven that I have to improve my subject knowledge by 300%? I have to improve my writing skills. I have to improve my conversational intelligence. I have to improve my various whatever Excel skills, and it could be anything. And mindfulness is not about just top end fundas. It is also about the ground granular execution of things.
Very true. In fact, the point, there's a, like you're giving example, I remember example of Walt Disney. You know, Walt Disney was a person, he was rejected throughout what he was doing. But his presence in his leadership creates the connectedness. You know, he related the mouse to the human. And when he was able to enable that qualities of empathy, when he is creating that personification of human, it was selflessness and compassion. And today that compassion built with children like, because children are actually true in heart. They understand compassion more than anybody. So I would say that, you know, while you are being understanding, being present, compassion and empathetic approach. And the maturity, the sign of maturity is not how rigid you are, but how flexible you are. So that flexibility is what makes you more mature on your understanding. It's not the age, but your level of flexibility and acceptance in non.
So that's the space mindfulness gives you between a stimulus and the response. And that space gives you more options and more choices to be flexible rather than a very animal spirit of animalistic response of just if somebody shouted, I will have to shout back.
Yeah, true, very true. This also creates not only being flexible to understand and accept. You know, it's I like one character. He's actually real time, and also I follow him quite a lot. Is Bruce Lee. He talks about be a water, my friend. So when you are in a cup, become cup. When you are in tea, become tea. When you are boiling, become water. When you steam, you know that. And when you are in a time when you want to rigid and hard, become as an ice. So, you know, your ability to adapt to situation is what mindfulness trains you. Also, it also creates a happiness. You know, you cannot be happy either if your mind is wandering in past or future. Tell me how many of people can be happy if their mind is all the time in past or in the future? Because as you said, the 60,000 thoughts, and out of 60,000 thoughts, 90% of thoughts or 95% of thoughts are negative because we are negative biased. Imagine that what a happiness we are creating. So I think that gives the strength and allow to understand and tap into your own potential. First of all, why are we thinking of others' potential in organization? We are simply talking about tapping into your own motivation and sense of purpose, how you said. You know, you cannot have sense of purpose without motivation. If there's no motivation, there is no sense of purpose. And I would say one more thing here. This is a very time which we need courage. We need people because it's, you know, this courage, this mindfulness is very contagious. There's a story of Thich Nhat Hanh. He says when he was coming on the boats, and when there was bombardment happening on the boats, everybody was scared that, you know, definitely one shell will hit and we all will die. He said one boy's courage kept the whole boat alive. That yes, nothing will happen, and he stood in front of boat and said nothing will happen. It's not, he's outside is not controlled, but the inside control, and it was contagious to all the team. And I think you may have a lot of such examples, and we would love to have some example where you think that contagiousness, that neuroplasticity happen in whole team. So I think coming to the next point, that there's a lot of stress to people. People complain that, you know, we are going through organizational stress, and now COVID has added on to the stress level because they are not used to, they are dealing with two timing. They are at home also working for home, as well as they're working for office. How do they deal with the stress, and how do we feel peace and ease in this environment, which is so volatile and uncertain?
Okay, see, one thing is clear that, yes, there's absolutely no denial to the fact that things are chaotic. But I think that courage and focus are valued when all these things are chaotic. When things are systematic, where would you show your courage if things are so predictable? Okay. Indeed, people will have to practice it, no doubt about it. there are suddenly uncertainty has happened. Till yesterday, we were a global village. We were dependent on each other. Today, we are saying we want to be Atmanirbhar. People are started immediately looking inside. And globalization is, as a concept, is under severe threat. And I would not be surprised today, World Bank and UN's existence itself is under threat. So similar challenges are, so we are no exception to it. So in such a situation, I think we will have to draw examples from the events around us. And we have to, only one way to do is that look inside and act outside. That's the one mantra I would give. Unless we are comfortable with ourselves, we will not be comfortable with others.
Very true, very true.
And second thing is that who is your biggest strength? Who is your biggest strength? You are your biggest strength. I will give you an example. For example, Colonel Sanders, who was founder of KFC. Kentucky Fried Chicken recipe was declined by 1089 clients before a hotel owner acknowledged it and took it on the menu. So can you be denied by 1089 time and still have courage to do it in 109th time? Are you so purpose driven? If you have it, or you can grow it, or you can develop it, you are the leader and you are the future.
Wonderful. In fact, these are the very profound thoughts which you are sharing. One thing I remember, when the times are difficult, people always remember how you make them feel. This is my own experience, And during this time, we do not realize, because we are ourselves in a turmoil. And the hardest time, we are in a turmoil. We do not know what actions we are taking. People remember. I remember of my good time with the organizations for sure, but how the organization or my leaders treat me when time was bad. I think those are more etched in the memory now, from even 20 to 30 years. When the people have to look back, people will see how organizations or the leaders during the coronavirus epidemic, how the companies made them feel, how the leaders made them feel in this unprecedented time. And I would suggest at this time, and to all the leaders, I said, treat your family as a family, but your outside family also as a family, because we all are in the same way. And today, global pandemic is showing us that not one single guy is away from this pandemic. We all are in it, be it rich or poor, everybody is into it. So I think today organizations also need to look at the people as a family, and their safety for their own teams, employees should be on a top priority. And that's what I do within my organization. That makes the difficulty for all of us more easier to work on. The one word which comes to me, which works very well, is called emotionally smart. How you are emotionally smart, you understanding others, influencing the world culture during this crisis. This empowers to lead change. My question, one, that leaders can make good decisions.
Okay, I will answer this question, and there are 2-3 chat box questions also, which I'll club together, and in 2 minutes I will answer all of them. So one is, of course, people are saying that we are in corporate worlds, capitalism rules the world. How can we work mindfully? And of course, there is another question on the front saying that what practice will help mindfulness, and correlate the concept of with emotional intelligence. So my response to these 3 questions and your question is, one thing is to be understood very well. You love people, you love your family member, you love yourself. You are kind to others, you are kind to yourself, you are kind to the environment. You are mindful with yourself and you are mindful in dealing with others. These are different shades of emotions. Please be mindful in being mindful that these emotions are not your weaknesses. These are your strengths. These are your levers. You have chose to exercise it. Let nobody exploit this strength of yours as your weakness. And that's what true emotional intelligence is all about. If Taj Hotels charge you something, doesn't it stand for the service after the incident of terrorist incident? Doesn't Tata Group and HDFC stand for trust? They are making money, but don't they stand for trust and service? My point is money making and mindfulness and the emotions can all club together. And that's why some hospitals are preferred over others. Some brands are preferred over others.
Yes.
So that we have to be appreciative of.
Yes.
Techniques, I don't want to enter or infringe the domain of Google, God, and masters like you. I am talking today purely from what has rubbed me. And techniques, tools, of course, you are available, and then people can study and research if they really want to be mindful. I am available.
Yes, I add to this, why this is somebody has asked me a question that in a Vedic time, monkey mind. And definitely that's the reason if our Vedics Vedic literature is pointing out that mind is restless. We all understand mind is restless. And mindfulness is that technique that you watch yourself. Let that monkey doesn't run away. Let's not that baby run away from here and there. You look after that baby. You don't rise to occasion. You suddenly don't become a leader. You sink into the level of your training, how you are training yourself. This is exactly applies to your mind. If you're training your mind well, you rise to the occasion. You don't have to rise and start learning mindfulness now when in the middle of it. And answering to that question of, sorry, you want to say something?
No, I want to say before, I would take 30 seconds to give a closing comments before we end. And people also want to know some books. So you are the best person to give the books on mindfulness.
Yes, I think rather than don't jump to go immediately mindfulness, start some preparation, understand that behavior, how behavioral shift. And one book to understand behavioral shift, people who are recently getting into mindfulness, The Man's Search for Meaning and Viktor Frankl. Read that book. That will start to build that awareness that how humans are so vulnerable, but so strong that when everything is taken away from man, his purpose is still alive. He still comes back when everything is gone. So I think that's the book in this today's COVID time that applies today. Then another book which you can read also is a good friend of mine, Dr. Ronald Segal, who has written Simple Mindfulness Practices for Daily Time. So use that simple practices and try to see if you can build those practices. So do 2 books. And I think I take a closing comment from you also. So we will definitely have people can write to us about the practices and we can still ask some of the questions.
So Manishji, I think one credit to you and your team and Shalini ji is that whosoever is logged in has stayed till the last. I think that speaks well of you and your organizing capability. From my side, I will only say one thing. I would use Ghalib ka sher to convey my message for this evening. गुजर जाएगा ये दौर भी गालिब, गुजर जाएगा ये दौर भी गालिब, जब खुशियां ही न ठहरी तो गम की औकात क्या है.
Very true, very, very true. Definitely, this too shall pass. When the happiness has not stayed, the difficulty will not stay. And also the learning from difficulty is very important because difficulty comes in our life to teach us. Difficulty is one of the biggest teacher. And if we do not respect the teacher, we do not respect the time to come. If we only happy all the time and your ability to understand difficulty is always very difficult. So I would say in the closing that, how different we look. People have asked a lot of questions about money. So how different we look from outside, be it caste, color, creed, religion, ethnicity, positions, social, there are a few common things in all of us. We all want to be happy. Just say no if people think no. We all want to become a better leader. We all want to improve our workplace. We all wanted to make better transform society and nature. And most importantly, we don't want to live in isolation how we are living. We wanted to come out and meet people. And COVID is the time which is realizing us the value these things have in our life. So if you are not enjoying that realization, you are actually missing that opportunity to deal with your own self and your organizations. And I think 2-3 things which you should do. I will pass quickly that one while people have asked me a few things. One, calm your anxieties. Do not go into multiple source of information surfing, one source, stick to one kind of source. Build some kind of self-awareness, do a basic daily practice of yoga, do mindfulness with work people together. Also try to do mindfulness with while you are working one thing. If you're washing clothes, wash clothes, just enjoy washing clothes. If you're taking shower, you can just take shower. Today is the day you have this luxury to do that. Go to kitchen like we and Alokji were talking. If you are cooking food, just enjoy cooking food that time. Don't think of what's going to be happening next. This is the time you can really practice. Universe has given us this time. So, collectively, we will pave a path for wiser choices and more secure communities in time to come. And I would say on other side of this pandemic can be more generous, more kind, more pro-social society. So be mindful and the possibility to lean into unfolding of COVID. I think that's what my point is at the last. So we open for more questions. If something come, we have about 5 minutes of taking questions.
I think most of the question we have answered as we get going.
Wonderful. One last point, would you like to give any suggestion for people from HR point of view? A lot of people from HR have joined.
Yeah, I think the suggestion for people, HR people, is that you are valued because you bring something to the table which line managers are not able to bring. And that is the human touch. And second thing is be selfless. Giving doesn't require cutting a check. It doesn't require money. Being generous means you can share a lot of things. You can show your authentic self and you can support people in whatever you feel is right. So I think emotional bonding is what people are looking for more than a good full ear listening and being discreet about it. If you recall the Dream Girl movie of Ayushmann Khurrana, where he plays as act as a character Pooja, where he takes the women's voice. After running that call center, he tells his friend how lonely people are. People need nothing but just emotional support. And you will get back that with interest. And this is my promise and my experience. If you do good to one account, you will get credit in some other account. That is the rule of the nature. Nobody can challenge that.
Wonderful. I think also so many people are here with us. I give one more suggestion to people. This is the time, collect stories of your team together. What has happened during this time? How do you overcome adversity which is caused by 19? People are capable of amazing things at this time. You can see people, the one girl has taken a father all the way driving a cycle for 1400 kilometers. People are capable of amazing things during this crisis. So capture the details of these stories. And I would say, don't summarize too much to them. Let the story be story and let people find their own learning from the story. So capture those stories and share with each other. That would be much better in learning in this time. And being compassionate, being empathetic to others are the things you will pay long run to happen. And this is the basic of the mindfulness. Thank you everyone for joining today. And I wanted to share a small questions what people can practice, which I usually share with people. Do this 6 questions daily. I would say 1, get up in the morning and ask yourself, what is my purpose of today? Second question, when you get up and you start, how am I healing myself today? What I'm doing to myself? Then one thing I'll let go of today. I always quote this point. Buddha was asked, while you do meditation, what have you gained? He says, I have gained nothing, but I've lost many things. So what are the things you're going to let go of it? He lost anger, he lost anxiety, many things he lost. Then one new thing I'm learning today. Most of us are busy in managing COVID. Then we spend time in front of computer and then go back and sit in front of Netflix and start watching TV. Have you learned one thing new during this time, this opportunity of 90, 80 days, which you are in home? And then who am I connecting? You said there's a one share which somebody told me कि सारे दुश्मन तो दोस्त हो गए, अब मुझे और दुश्मनों की जरूरत पड़ेगी शायद, क्योंकि then मैंने all दुश्मनों को तो दोस्त में convert कर लिया. I need more दुश्मन to convert them into. And then do not forget to be grateful. That what I'm grateful for today. I'm grateful that people are taking this initiative. I'm grateful that I'm alive. Basic gratefulness. Find that. Do this 6 question to yourself. And I think definitely what will help you in time to come. You can also write to us on this details, and we will be happy to answer your question. So that's it for today, today's session. Sorry, I didn't share with that. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
So the first question which I asked was, shall I repeat or it's okay? Shall I send it?
No, you just play. People will note it down or take a snapshot of it.
Okay. So you can take it down these 6 questions, which I told that what is my purpose? How am I healing? What thing I'm letting go of today? What new thing I'm learning today? Who am I connecting with in? And what am I grateful of today, which I said. So Nick, take a note of it, and you can write to me, and you can write to Mindful Science Center for anything. You can connect with us. So I think with this, we end our today's session. Thank you so much, Alokji, for your amazing insight and your mindfulness knowledge. I'm really impressed with that, and I'm hope that definitely SDFC is taking benefit of you. Other people can also take benefit, and we will do more such sessions with you. And
Thank you very much.
Keep you,
Indeed, pleasure.
keep you also posted of the development.
Yes, signing off. Thank you very much to all of you for participating.